it was increasingly difficult to get up here and talk as the different stories were unraveling. And I found it particularly difficult to go right after you because this was such a moving story. And but I wanted to come and talk, and I wanted to talk about hunger. And that's usually what I talk about when I get the chance to speak in front of a crowd. What I usually do is that I ask them to count until 10. And just to stay in line with the tradition, I will still ask you to do that. So if you would just kindly raise up your voice and count until 10 with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in 10 seconds in this room, nothing really happened or changed. We're at the same place, everything's going really well. But the reason I make people count until 10 every time I get a lot of people's attention at once is because every 10 seconds somebody dies of TB. And really early on in my medical studies I got really interested about tuberculosis and about why it still kills so many people every year, because it made so little sense since we had all those tools with us. And we had everything we needed to make sure it didn't happen, and still it did. And that's what got me starting to think about inequality and inequity and health and social determinants of health. And then going through that and working with my NMO in global health, we started thinking about another problematic, which was hunger. And when we decided to make a video about it to distribute to everyone, we decided to say, oh, let's calculate how, in how many seconds does someone die of hunger. And it's 2.5, so that's much shorter to count. It goes 1, 2, and you're not yet at 3. It happened again. And I think it's just so quick. I mean, it's just so silly that it can happen so quickly, and that we let people die of hunger. I mean, in this world where there's so many people, but there's also so many resources, and there's more resources than there's ever been. So it's not true that we couldn't make sure they reach everyone. And it made me think, because in where I come from, in North America, there's about 60% of adults that are obese, or morbidly obese, yet there's still 35 million people in very high-income countries that are undernourished. And there's about 130 million total in the world. And that makes so little sense. So I started thinking about, food systems, and I started reading about that, and I thought it was really interesting, and I encourage you to read about food systems and how all of this works, because it's quite wicked. But one thing we did is that we decided to bring people together and to make an inequality dinner. And people would sit at a table, and under their chair they'd have a card that would say, "Hi, you're this person from this country, and too bad for you, you fell in the percentage of humanity that doesn't get enough to eat. So you can go and get your plate, but you're going to have 3 chickpeas and 5 grains of rice, and that's going to be it for today." And somebody else next to you would pick a card, and they'd get a really, really full plate. And you'd get no fork, and they'd get 2, and they'd get a full glass of water, and you laugh. And then we just watched to see what people would do, and if they would share, or if they wouldn't. And in the end, most of them did, because it's so hard to see your plate full, and the person in front of you with nothing. That the logic response is, oh, I'm going to give him one of my forks and half my glass of water, and all the chickpeas I have in my plate. But every day, we have a really full plate, and we don't share it, just because the person that doesn't have a full plate is too remotely situated from us, for us to feel that urgent need to just put the food in its plate, make sure that they have enough to eat. And it's still possible to do it, but I mean, it's just the way the human mind works. It's so silly. If that person's in front of you, you're not going to be able not to give them the food. But if they're not, we know they die. We know they die of TB, and it costs $50 to save them. And we know they die of hunger, but we let it happen just because it's not in their face. And I think we have this really, really special opportunity here to put the entire world right in front of us. And it's not anymore just the statistics, and it's not anymore just on the news. It's our friends from Norway that suffered a terrorist attack, Paris. And it's our friends from Spain that sat in those, in tents for months. And it's our friends in Egypt that marched, and it's our friends in Tunisia that got a dictator out. And I really can't wait to see all of you guys again. And I really can't wait to go back to Tunisia, see Lamia, and see that there's no more posters of Ben Ali in the world. And it's going to just be so different. So I just want you to take this opportunity, while you have the entire world in front of you, to make sure everything that happens that we feel so remote from when we're at home, that we make sure it rushes in, and that we can no longer hide from it. Thanks.